So, the Chiefs received some very intriguing news regarding the potential return timeline of one of their key defensive players. This player, who played a vital role early in the season, unfortunately ended up on injured reserve due to an injury. If this update pans out, it could be a game changer for the Chiefs' defense at just the right time. We'll dive into that shortly, along with a couple of roster moves made today. Plus, we need to address those calling the Chiefs frauds and set the record straight. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Let me show you the bigger picture. The decision to trade L'Jarius Sneed is looking smarter every week. Sure, keeping both Sneed and Chris Jones would have been ideal, but you know there is a budget concern. So the Chiefs prioritized signing the leader of Sack Nation, Chris Jones, to a 5-year deal worth $101 million guaranteed. Following that, they franchise-tagged Sneed and traded him to the Titans. In return, Kansas City received a 2025 third-round pick and a swap of 2024 seventh-round picks. Now, let's take a closer look at that trade. The Titans have had a rough season, currently sitting with the second overall pick in the upcoming draft. That means all of their picks, including the third-rounder sent to Kansas City, are at the top of their respective rounds. Right now, the pick Kansas City acquired is the 66th overall in the NFL draft. For context, the Chiefs have found talent around this range in past drafts, with players like safety Juan Thornhill, linebacker Willie Gay Jr., center Creed Humphrey, and safety Brian Cook. While not every pick hits, Kansas City's success in this range has been notable, and it speaks to the front office's ability to draft wisely. As of now, the Chiefs hold picks at 32, 64, 68, 96, 133, and 255. Those two third-round picks in particular, 68 and 96, highlight just how valuable draft positioning can be. There's a significant difference in potential talent between those spots, even though they fall in the same round. Hats off to Brett Veach for orchestrating this trade and continuing to set the team up for success in the future. One reason for trading Sneed could also be Kansas City's confidence in Trent McDuffie. McDuffie has emerged as one of the best cornerbacks in the league. In fact, he has the potential to become the first defensive back drafted by the Chiefs to earn a long-term second contract since Eric Berry. McDuffie is currently the third highest graded defender on the team, according to Pro Football Focus, and his ability to prevent separation has been a standout aspect of his game. But here's the real kicker. McDuffie has a knack for forcing turnovers. In just 3 seasons, he recorded 7 forced fumbles, including one last week. That's 3 turnovers in 3 consecutive games, 2 interceptions and 1 forced fumble. Those 7 forced fumbles tie him for second all-time among cornerbacks in their first 3 seasons. Among active corners over the last 3 years, he's first. And when you add it all up, McDuffie has 9 total turnovers, which ties him for 5th among all defensive backs drafted in 2022. McDuffie's ability to lock down receivers, disrupt plays, and create turnovers is exactly what you'd want in a CB1. The inevitable discussion about how much he'll be paid, the length of his contract, and whether the Chiefs will lock him up long-term is one for another day. But there's no denying his value to this defense right now. Speaking of cornerbacks, there's been some buzz about a potential return for Jaylen Watson. Andy Reid addressed it during today's media presser, though he didn't sound overly optimistic. Reid described the possibility of Watson's return as stretching it, which suggests it's a long shot. However, Watson recently posted a video of himself running sprints, a promising sign in his recovery process. The next big hurdle for him will be testing lateral movement, shifting left and right, which is critical for a cornerback's ability to play effectively. Dr. Jesse Morris, an injury expert, speculates that Watson might be ready to return within the next 2 to 3 weeks. If that timeline holds, there's a slim chance his 21-day practice window could open during the playoffs. Realistically, though, the earliest we might see him back on the field would be the conference championship or even the Super Bowl. Either way, having Watson back would be a huge boost for this defense down the stretch. Having Jaylen Watson back on the field could make a significant difference for the Chiefs' defense. The impact he had earlier in the season is supported by the numbers. Before Watson's injury in Week 8, the Chiefs' defense ranked in the top 10 in expected points added per play, a strong indicator of overall efficiency. Without him, that ranking plummeted to 28th, one of the bottom 5 defenses in the league. While the defense has improved somewhat since then, the absence of Watson has been a major factor in their struggles. The return of Charles Omenihu has been helpful, particularly in boosting the pass rush, which in turn alleviates some pressure on the secondary. But having Watson back, even for just 1 or 2 critical games, like the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, could provide a massive boost to this unit. His presence would undoubtedly improve the Chiefs' chances of securing a three-peat. Of course, this hinges on Watson recovering fully and quickly, both physically and mentally, to perform at his usual high level. It's a big ask, but not entirely out of the question, based on Andy Reid's comments. There's also the possibility of Steven Nelson stepping up in the meantime to help fill the void left by Watson. Nelson's potential contribution is a bit of a wild card. We don't know how much he has left in the tank. However, Sunday's game against the Broncos will provide a clearer picture, as he's expected to get some meaningful snaps. Live reps are the only way to truly evaluate what he can bring to the table. If Watson can't return soon enough, Nelson might prove to be a valuable stopgap. Now, let's address a narrative making the rounds in the media. The idea that the Chiefs are somehow a fraudulent football team. This claim is nothing more than clickbait designed to stir controversy and generate views. It's frustrating, but it's also a testament to the level of success Kansas City has achieved. When a team dominates for as long as the Chiefs have, the critics start looking for any angle to bring them down. Critics have pointed out that the Chiefs are one of only 4 teams this season that haven't scored more than 30 points in a game. It's an easy dig to make, but it lacks context. Kansas City is the only team on that list with a winning record, and that's because they understand the importance of complementary football, successfully balancing offense, defense, and even special teams to secure victories. The Chiefs' offense is averaging 24.1 points per game, while their defense has been holding opponents to just 18 points per game. That defensive performance is even more impressive when you consider they've allowed 20 or fewer points in 12 games this season, the most by any defense in the league. A big part of this defensive success can actually be attributed to the offense's style of play. Kansas City excels at sustaining long drives, limiting turnovers, and keeping their defense fresh and rested. Now look at the numbers. The Chiefs rank 4th in the league in average time of possession and lead in offensive plays per game, averaging 66.1. They've executed 39 drives this season that lasted 10 or more plays and resulted in points, with the next closest teams, the Commanders and Eagles, having only 29 such drives. Even more impressive, Kansas City has the most 10-plus play drives ending in touchdowns with 21. This methodical approach keeps opposing defenses on the field longer, wearing them down while helping their own defense maintain peak performance. On top of that, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL at converting third downs, a critical factor in sustaining those long drives. While they may not be generating as many explosive plays, this grinded-out style has proven highly effective. The offense has scored 26 or more points in 9 games this season and is coming off back-to-back performances with 27 or more points against playoff-caliber teams. Andy Reid's coaching also plays a role in how the Chiefs manage games. Reid often takes a conservative approach late in games, choosing to have players slide short of the goal line or kneel to run out the clock instead of padding the score with meaningless touchdowns. A perfect example of this was the Texans game, where Reid prioritized clock management over running up the score. So, while the Chiefs may not be putting up flashy 30-plus point games, they're doing exactly what they need to do to win. In fact, they just won a game by 19 points, proving they can dominate when necessary. At the end of the day, winning is what matters, and few teams understand how to do that better than Kansas City. With a 6-1 record against current playoff teams, locking up the top seed on Christmas, and the ability to rest key players, the Chiefs are in a position most teams can only dream of. The Chiefs have secured the top seed in the AFC, a first-round bye, and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. This isn't luck, it isn't fraudulent, and it definitely isn't because of the referees, as some critics like to claim. This is the very definition of greatness. Now let's talk about the Week 18 matchup against the Denver Broncos at Mile High Stadium on Sunday, January 5th. Insider reports suggest that Andy Reid is likely to rest key starters for this game. However, Reid mentioned in today's press conference that he hasn't finalized who will and won't play. For context, last year in Week 18, the Chiefs made several key players inactive, including Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes, Kadarius Toney, L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Dana, Donovan Smith, and Travis Kelce. Based on that, we can probably expect Mahomes, Kelce, Chris Jones, McDuffie, and Bolton to sit out this time as well. That said, the final list of inactive players is still up in the air, and some surprises could happen. Now let's get into a couple of roster moves the Chiefs made today. The team signed linebacker Blake Lynch to the practice squad. To make room for him, they terminated the practice squad contract of wide receiver Montrell Washington. This move likely serves as a depth addition after linebacker Jack Cochran was placed on IR last week following a broken ankle. In case there was any lingering doubt, Andy Reid confirmed today that both Sky Moore and Rashee Rice will not return this season due to their injuries. While this was expected, it's now official. Let me know your thoughts on the current playoff picture and what Week 18 could look like without key starters. Who do you think should get playing time, and who should rest as the Chiefs prepare for the playoffs? Drop your predictions and takes in the comments below.